round table. Yeah, we got lots to discuss. Lots of weird, wonderful openings. Some weird and wonderful measurements that me and John made on antennas. And so let's proceed. Gem, WA6YOS.
AA6DB in the net, WA6YOS, given Westminster. Okay. Well, I haven't been doing too much radio wise this last week. I have some boxes in the garage I discovered that have things in them that are some of which are radio related, which I'm beginning to go through. I spent yesterday on one of those and didn't really find too much, mostly old paperwork and stuff. Well, I found one really strange item which I won't go into. It would only be appropriate to discuss at certain times. Probably the evening hours would be more appropriate for this one thing I found, but anyway, weird story about that. Let's see. This last week's just been kind of busy with business stuff and doing some things for my mother, so I can't really think of anything all that significant. So I'll just listen to everybody else, and hopefully there'll be all sorts of interesting radio news from other people there. AA6PD, WA6YOS.
Yeah, well, that's like up in Fullerton Hills, the same area. I used to go up there and operate all the time on 6, of course, back in the 70s especially, so some in the 60s. And that's the same area that I went to. That's the best RF shot all the way around on the far eastern part of the crest of the hills there. And there was oil pumpers that existed over on the north side of the hill. And so there was this sort of very scraggly fence there, barbed wire fence. And anyway, every so often I would go up there to park. Usually I park at the same place, but once in a while I'd look over and there was a condom hanging off the fence.
Yes, I have been in places where I have seen those, I guess, a little bit unexpectedly, and then sometimes not that surprising, but yes, one does run upon that from time to time.
Yeah, I just wonder, why big? I mean, is this some sort of trophy you're putting out there to say that you've done something? I mean, it just didn't make sense to me, but anyway. Yeah, Jim, good on all that. We have had really interesting openings. I want to go down the whole list and get people checked in before we go into all this stuff. Otherwise, it's going to take forever. But so let me go on. Tom went over to Arizona, but let's see if he's back yet. Tom, AJ6TT. Okay, very interesting on that radio, Tom. And the 2000 has tremendous AM modulation, so you want to back it down a little bit. When you over-modulate on that radio, it tends to go into some FMing. You've got multiple sidebands, some of which sound like they're FMing. Other than that, it sounds wonderful. It sounds beautiful. Just relax. You don't need your AM modulation mode, your voice mode. You can be, you know, it's not like all those. It's not like the Ranger that you need to scream at all the time for us to hear anything. It's just the opposite. Very good on the visit and what's been happening. Let's see if Gary might be out there, W7BIP. All right, let's go to Don. He's got so many mountaintops working now, it's hard to keep track of them. K6DLP.
Yeah. And I keep batting them, huh? Man, that's a terrible habit to be into. Good morning, everybody. K6DLP here at Halupa Valley checking in. I don't have a whole lot to say, but just been busy building my little coaxials to go get put up, and messing with meters and dirty meters and just having a good old time. K6DLP.
Yeah, well, you were talking about calibrating earlier, Don. It reminded me of we were doing a VHF-UHF conference. Actually, Wayne Overbeck put it on in Oxnard. Usually it was up in San Jose, but he was living at Oxnard at the time, out on the ocean, so he put it on for everybody. And of course, we had to do I had to help him out on doing the antenna measurements. And you typically do 6 meters, 2 meters, 220, all the way to 10 gigs. So Wayne had his camper with the tower in the back, parked about a mile away along the beachfront. So we had a nice direct wave path all the way there without any much in the way because of the elevation. And so I was officiating at the start point, and it was and what we would usually use was on each band a coaxial. Okay, so on 2 meters we'd have a coaxial, and we would calibrate an arbitrary level on the dB meter, and it was audio. It was tone, modulate AM tone. So, and then you have no AGC on the receivers, and you'd have to make sure that they weren't being overloaded. They had plenty of dynamic range. And this guy was there, and he was complaining, saying, well, if you take that to a metrology lab and test and have it measured, and I said, this is all relative from one to the other anyway. We're not guaranteeing we're giving you exact dBs above some over isotropic or something, which is a meaningless measurement anyway. It's all proportional. And it will be real dBs over a coaxial, which is a dipole. And he was just not satisfied with that answer. Don, go ahead.
I'll be darned. Well, the comment about dirty meters is I've got, as you probably imagine, all kinds of testers and stuff. And one of them is a little VNA that came from China, but it uses SMA connectors. And I thought that to be my favorite meter. And I'd be checking something, and it would say one thing. I'd leave it connected, turn around to grab something, and look back, and the SWR was completely different. Well, what it actually turned out to be is I had to come in and blow the air compressor into the connector and clean everything out, and it finally settled down and gave me what my real readings were. And I found the other meter I was talking about this morning, and I went out quickly and checked that, and oh man, I really like this meter, maybe even better. So I got it on the charger right now, make sure it's got a good charged battery. And it you can when measuring the impedance of this dipole, it shows it both numerically and, I would get this, Smith chart. I really like the Smith chart part of it. So as I moved around in frequency with the antenna, I could see as well at low in the band at say 50 megs, the SWR was kind of high, and the antenna measured about 21 ohms. And then as I got closer to 51 even, I got it down to 1.4 to 1. And what's neat is you can watch the Smith chart move around, and then as you watch it get closer to 50 ohms. Can't quite get it to 50. I'm not sure how to get the thing down to an exact 50 ohms, other than I'm assuming I have to adjust the skirt or something to maybe possibly change the feed point impedance. But that was the gist of the conversation.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, it's just when you're putting on something where you've got hundreds of people there and you're doing something technically, you always got somebody who's going to be anal about it. and and they do it because they think they're showing how smart they are. But that's not the conclusion I come to at least. But yeah, no, does this thing have BNCs on it?
Let's see. 2 of them are SMAs. The AA14 is an N connector, and this other one I got, I don't see the name on it, but it says HF, VHF, UHF antenna analyzer, 0.1 to 1300 megs, and they call it a mini 1300. And I'll tell you, this thing is really cool. I don't think the AA14 shows you numerically and Smith chart at the same time, but this one does. And this is the one with the N connector, which is, I just so much more prefer the N connector, because that'll marry right up to most of the antenna cables, that come off the tower.
Oh yeah, far superior, far superior. All right, very, very interesting. And let's go to Gary, W6RYO.
Well, good morning, everybody. Another wonderful Sunday morning. W6RYO here. Not much going on. Still need to get with Don and figure out what we're going to do with Knob. It's not, the radio's not hearing it all now. It does transmit. I can hear it here fine. So that's a project underway with that little radio, John. I got tired of playing with an ICO, 60s vintage signal generator. So I picked up a little function generator that, dual channel, 70 megahertz, any waveform you want, modulation, AM, FM, PSK, FSK, everything. So I've playing with it more, and And it looks like the IF stage is good. When I inject at the beginning of the IF, I get nice clean tones out, which means at least that audio stage is working. So I'm working my way through it, and Jim, I think these radios are just numb, but I'm still playing with it, and I'll keep you posted on what I'm finding. But boy, it's tough to work on, especially the era. It's not a fiberglass board, single-sided etch. So, a half a degree too much heat, and all of a sudden the etch lifts. And I found a broken etch that I don't think I did, but it's hard to tell. It was where the ground wrapped around the radio, and so anyway, it's still a challenge. When it ceases to be a challenge, I'll give it back to Jim, JPS. Anyway, so that's about it. Just piddling with this and piddling with that, and not much else going on. I'll bring this little manual on this signal generator to breakfast Wednesday, John. I think you'll get a kick out of it. It's amazing. There was a time when that was a $3,000 piece of equipment. So anyway, not much else to say. You and John RF Will talking about the test you did. I'll be nice and say there were a few times I just turned the radio off, because I think you're trying to measure the lift coefficiency of a gnat's wing, and given that it's an uncontrolled area, it's not an antenna range. It's kind of amazing you got the results you did. And John, no offense, but Will, you have an amazing amount of patience. So without being too nasty, I'll leave it with that, and everybody enjoy. AA6DD in the group, W6R oil.
Well, okay, Gary. Well, that's the thing that I think is I'm not trying to write some sort of scientific paper. I'm trying to see what is applicable to a typical ham station to advise a new ham what to do. And all those measurements are very good for doing that. And it is like the anal guy on the, I gotta have this coaxial, measured at a metrology lab, so that I got a standard from the federal government to go by, he's just showing his ignorance in that case. That's why I brought that up. We're not trying to do that. Of course, John knows that. Knows we're not trying to get some perfect number. But what we are doing is getting real good practical application numbers. Let's go to she who opens the band up. Kim, K6YYL.
Good morning, everyone. AA6DD and the net, K6YYL. Yeah, and then I'll start off really quickly with the numbers just to get those out of the way. And yes, the band on 6 meters has been relatively good. I mean, yesterday morning I worked in Ohio. Let's see, there was, I think, Washington and then some Colorado. So, and then a few nights ago we had a good opening in after sundown as well. So, on 6 meters, 50.125 and around there. So the numbers: 100 sunspots, solar flux index 152. The A is 6, and the K is 3. And by the way, I'm live streaming right now, so keep it PG.
Okay. Very good, Kim. Wonderful in Ohio. Congratulations on that. And yeah, well, it's been all over the place. I admit I have done no double hop, but Ohio is definitely double hop. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, so it was fun, and I'm really pleased. So I just think that, you know, a few years ago we had more apparent phone openings, but that was because I think we had more people here on phone. Not dogging FT8 and people's love for FT8. I think that's great to have that, but I just wish that people would come back to phone, you know, and call CQ here, because we sure need it. You know, it'd be great. It's nice to hear a human voice. Go ahead, Will.
Yes. Mark, AG6ZR. No Mark this morning. Rich, W6BRC. Doug, N6ODF. John, W7RSO. Dana, N7UFT. Let me go to the other beam. Dana, N7UFT. I don't hear him. Let's go to John, AA6RF.
Yeah, this is AA6RF to the group. Yeah, lots of activity, a lot of 6-meter activity, like Kim said. And I've been on both FT8 and single sideband, and I've been using the FT8 as a tool to work single sideband without as much effort into it, so it helps, but it also helps to get your voice out there, and like Kim said, we need more activity on single sideband, or FM even. Yeah, the experiment Will and I did, I'll let Will explain that, and I won't bore Gary, but yeah, you're right, Gary. It gets kind of monotonous. A lot of crap we're going through, and we were both excited about it. I don't think anybody else gets excited about the experiment, but at least Will and I had fun, and that's what it was about. So back to you, Will.
Okay. Yeah, well, we might, you know, if you want to do that experiment tomorrow's a good day. You come on over and you can head out to the dam and help me trace down the Zygo antenna and see first whether we get it working. So we get all level coverage. You know, we'll go all the way around, and on the last part of it, we will go into it in depth, so anybody who wants to go away can go away and not be bored. But I know John will be fascinated with what we did. Let's see if Chris is out there, KF6LEX. Nope, not there. John, KU6X.
All right, everybody. John, KU6X here. Not too much radio activity. I have been working on 6 meters a bit, and mainly into single hop into Texas and stuff. This morning there was a beacon on. What was this? I don't see it. I wrote it down somewhere in West Texas. Very strong, and I got on. It's around 6:45 in the morning. I got on and called CQ quite a few times, but no one's listening. Very frustrating. I see a fair amount of that. You can see beacons popping up, but like Kim says, they're all on a FT8, sleeping. or dozing off and coming back every hour to see what wonderful stuff they work. I guess I may have to join the bandwagon here, but so far I haven't gone to the, quote, dark side. Anyway, and I see you guys working, you know, up north, but of course Gary, RYO, and I are too close to the mountains for that. And some of the stuff I was just doing back and forth between horizontal and vertical polarization, and almost all cases horizontal was better, but usually not more than about 1 or 2 S units, and sometimes you can see it, you know, rotating around between horizontal and vertical and all points in between. But anyway, that's about all I have to say this morning. AA60D KU6X.
Yep. Well, I always preach polarization diversity. I've got that halo up there now that Don put up when we took down the horizontal beam. And I work a lot of stations on that halo. And because my vertical beam usually outperforms it in many directions. But it, of course, is also on me. So, for example, whenever I've got the beam pulled towards Oregon and Idaho and Washington, and I'm working guys, all of a sudden Texas might come in, and I flip to the horizontal loop, and boom, they come right up out of the noise, and they're nice and strong, and so I work them on the horizontal. And there are times that once in a while the horizontal noise is worse than the vertical noise, but usually it's the other way around. The horizontal, now that my high-tension lines don't zark all the time with sparks, when they change out the pole pig transformer, my high-tension lines are a lot quieter than they used to be. My horizontal noise level is always worse than my vertical. But that's no longer true with the new antenna, with the new transformer. Any late missed or visitor check-ins, or comments or questions, or relays on late missed visitor check-ins before we go around again? Call time, please. Hearing none, we'll go up to Jim, W6YOS. Take your time, Jim. No rush.
Okay. AA6DB in the mix. WA6YOS. Jim in Westminster. Yeah. I thought you were going to go more into the review of the week's activities there, Will, but maybe that's yet to come, or maybe I missed it. I don't know. I'm going 3 different directions this morning, and something's going on outside. I have to go out there and look around the back. So, weird noises. Anyway, I can't really think of anything else. Yeah, that little radio there, Gary, that little Sony, there's a whole thing of working on those tiny little units there, and I used to be better at it than I am now. I do notice the thing now with the having to look more closely and tread a little more lightly when I heat up the circuit board pad. But yeah, it can still be done if you go slowly enough. And yeah, I don't know. You know, those the basic 6-transistor radio designs, the performance does vary quite a bit on those designs. And I've done a few things where I've swapped out transistors and been able to effect a little bit of a change, especially in sensitivity. But I will say, anybody that ever worked on those things, that the converter transistor It's a 2-6 transistor design. The first transistor is a converter. Then you have the 2IF. And that converter transistor is the most critical transistor in the entire radio. It absolutely, if you try different ones in there and change the bias just slightly, you will notice changes in that. And the other interesting thing is, assuming the radio uses all PRT or all NPN, which most of them do, there are a few that will mix sometimes the outputs are different than the others. But if you do have all the same polarity of transistors, and you have a known good converter transistor, it will work in any stage of the radio. Now you might not want to leave it in for output, especially if this radio puts out a little more than some of the little pocket sets do. But it makes a good sort of test transistor if you have a good hot converter unit in there. But that's the stage to fiddle around with on those as far as getting them to be a little better than the numb classification. Anyway, enough of that. And yeah, if you do have other stuff you want to talk about, there will with the antenna testing and all. I shall be listening downstairs as the coffee is poured. Everybody have a good week. And it looks like, oh, we have a holiday tomorrow. That's right. No mail. One less day for me to get business stuff done. Anyway, we shall muddle through here. And we'll do it all again next week. Have a good one. AA6DD, WA6YOS.
Okay. Yeah, for those that are interested in the antenna measurements, you might get out a clean sheet of paper, because that might give everybody the data that we acquired. So you can look at it on your leisure and either agree, disagree, or don't care. Question there, Jim. It seems like those original transistors was all PNPs, all germaniums that were used in so many of the classic early radios. Was there some technical reason that the PNPs were higher frequencies than the NPNs of the day? Go ahead.
I'm not really sure about that. I don't remember reading anything about NPN versus PNP. I don't know, but that is the case. All of the early ones were, of course, germanium, and then they were PNP. And then when you got into the late 50s, you started seeing your NPN show up here and there. I don't know, Will. That's interesting.
Okay. And were those NPNs also germanium initially?
Yes, they were.
Okay. That's fascinating. All right, let me move on down. Let's go to Tom, AJ6TT.
Was that for me?
Oh, we're almost there, Don. It is. Tom's not there. He's probably out walking the dog. So, yeah, let's go ahead to you, K6DLP.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. I want Tom to come back because I have the computer on and I'm looking at the radio up there at Santiago. I want to see what his signal level looks like. Anyway, all righty. Well, I'm probably just going to wait for your discussion on the ground wave stuff. I was listening here in the background and trying to clean up the floor here behind me. I just got one of my audio control racks finished up, and I got to put it in the rack and do a bunch of testing and start getting things adjusted correctly and get all these Pi servers programmed. And I'm just waiting for my little mini 1300 to come alive, and then I'm going to play with a so I have the coaxial collinears, and then I also have a full folded dipole antenna, and it's commercial, and everything that I've seen that I can find on the internet, at least so far, they all tell you what the impedance should be, how to make things look different, blah blah blah. But this one does not use a balun to separate the dipoles. And on the folded part, when you wrap it back around, I have not seen anything on the internet that shows the center of the fold back is also grounded. And I'm not quite sure what the impedance at the center, at the feed point that should be. So I'm going to be taking a very, very small piece of coax and hopefully get right up on the antenna there and see what that looks like. Because I know if you take two of those antennas and you decibel product feeds both of those antennas from a T with 50 ohm coax. So I can I'm trying to figure out, well, how are they doing that, other than, of course, that cable from the T has to be at a specific phase angle. But other than that, I'm real curious to figure that all out so I can make some more of those for various frequency bands. But primarily because I got a pair of those up at Sunset on the big tower, and I would just absolutely love to have a nice 1.2 to 1 or better SWR on 6 meters up there at 140 feet. That would be just, I think, the cat's meow for me. And then, of course, I got a couple other tower sites. The other one being in Arizona at 7,400 feet. And I want to take a pair of those at the top and point them down the Highway 40. That's one of my goals. Part of my bucket list. There we go. Anyway, carry on, guys. Hopefully Tom will come back so I can see what his signal looks like. K6DLP.
Go ahead and take a transmission, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, you're at S2 here at the house, and in S7 to 7.5 on Santiago. Not bad. Thanks, guys. K60 open.
Okay. Yeah, he's using the Yaesu Fox Tango 2000D, and the D version puts out 200 watts, 50 watts carrier on AM and 200 watts PDT modulated. Okay, let's go to Kim. K6YYL. I have we're going to go talk to you a little bit about you and I communicating direct wave on 10, 15, 17, and 20 meters over all these years. Go ahead.
Okay, very good, very good. Let's see, AA60D in the net, K6YYL. So I don't know, first off, do you want to comment on the numbers? I mean, with the sunspots and the solar flux index and all that, so I'll just repeat that again. The sunspots, last I looked just a bit ago, was 100 sunspots. Solar flux index, 152. The A is 6, and the K is 3.
Yeah, well, the K is what we want for static E to be. The K of 4 is called without static E. K of 3 may have a little bit of negative effect, but usually won't stop it. Obviously, you want a K of 0, 1, or 2 is best for static E. And so the flux is going out. So it means over the next week we shouldn't have any violent electrical storms of the sun, creating aurora or bad stuff, or at least bad stuff for us down here in the non-aurora region. And so I think it bodes well for static E formation. And then the sun will rotate, and then you'll have the big spots back again, and be bombarded again, and so here again, the guys up north can have aurora communications, and we won't get anything probably. But what I tell John, and I'm just going to let you say agree or disagree or amplify upon my statement. Anyway, John looked it up and says we're exactly 28 air miles apart between my house and your house. And you and I have communicated for many years, vertical to vertical on 6, 10, 12, 15, 17. And we've always tried on 20, but it's usually impossible on 20 meters. We just don't make it. Now, when we first met, I actually did work you. I had to go to the horizontal beam, and of course you had that horizontal sloping dipole that we worked. But of course, once you went to the vertical antenna, it was far superior, and we communicated far better on 10 meters vertical to vertical. My point is to everybody is that all that shows no ground wave. In fact, it shows direct wave, in my opinion, everything we've talked about over the years. And it's always that parameter. In other words, on 6 we have a beam usually, and we're not just doing omnivertical, but on the other bands it's omnivertical. And so maybe we can't count 6 because it's so good, our communications. So when we go to omnivertical, both of our verticals were, 25 feet off the ground to the base of the antennas. We consistently can talk on 10 meters and 12 meters, and then the signal drops lower on 15 and 17, and then usually completely non-existent on 20. So that shows no ground wave but all direct wave, but it shows this roll-off in direct wave signals. So any comments on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, you're talking ancient times back in 2009 when we first met and I had my other call sign. Yeah, those were ancient times, and you just barely picked out my signal then with the sloping dipole that my husband and I had made and put up. So, yeah, those are good. Yeah, we talked on all those bands, and then I think we had done some 40 meters as well later on with the dipole that you had made me.
Yeah, we did 40 with the horizontal antenna within VIS. As soon as you got your general, I came over and we strung up the 40-meter L-shaped dipole to itself.
Right. Yeah, that was back in the olden days of the general class. Now I'm free; I can go anywhere on that extra, so that's awesome. And that's been a while now that I've had the extra, so that's pretty fun. Yeah, those are great. So direct wave, go ahead.
Anyway, I was just saying, you concur that that's been the pattern all these times we've done it over and over again. Go ahead. Even when we went outside and did the mobile or the portable soda thing, soda, whatever it is, we again go to all those bands and we have the same basic effects. Go ahead.
Yes, I concur with that. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to, before I go to John, anybody's got a piece of paper and pencil, I'm going to give the data we measured. It falls into 3 categories, so you might want to line the paper into Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3 for the data. And each one represents a particular location. All right. The first location is the library, the Riverside Library, which is 2.2 miles away from me. What I'm doing here is I'm going from a Hustler 5 VTV sitting on the ground. It's the Hustler out on the Davenport out front, whatever you want to call it, where we always meet out there with everybody. We have the Hustler that's just a few feet off the side of the hill there, and it has a big fence, horse fence counterpoise that's sitting in the weeds. So it's literally on the ground. And so we're switching between that antenna and the AV620 that is good 35 feet up in the air. So we're going for an antenna sitting on the ground to an antenna that is about 35 feet above the ground, but it's about 38 feet above the other antenna, which is slightly below the ground, or the ground edge out there where our patio is, let me put it that way. Okay, so here's the measurement. This is the receive antenna is an 18-foot vertical sitting on the tripod, and the tripod is only a couple inches tall, and there was a few counterpoises. Okay, so at the 2.4 miles, we have 20 meters, 50 meters, and 10 meter measurements. 20 meters, the signal on the ground is plus 30 dB. The signal in the air is plus 30 dB. So there, in my opinion, we're seeing ground waves, real ground waves. Makes no difference whether the antenna is in the air, up that high, which is a good halfway length off the ground. And there's all sorts of misinformation on the web by supposed experts about that. That measurement kills those statements. I mean, it just destroys them. Can you be too high? Obviously. but I don't think most amateur capacity would ever get the antenna too high to get good ground wave. Then, all of a sudden, we go to 15 meters. On the ground, it's plus 10 dBs. Okay, all of a sudden, we're seeing direct wave and no ground wave, in my opinion, there. In the air, it's plus 25 dBs. So the elevation starts making a big difference on 15 meters. And 10 meters, it's 10 dBs on the ground and 21 dBs in the air. Here again, getting in the air is what you got to get for this direct wave. We see direct wave on both those bands and no significant ground wave, in my opinion. Now, we move, this is the second location, which is 3.2 miles away. Same 3 sets of data, 14 meg, 21 dBs, and 20 on the ground, and 22 dBs in the air. Not really within our air, it's basically the same reading. But anyway, it was 21 on the ground and 22 in the air. 15 meters is 5 dBs on the ground, plus 5, and plus 15 dBs in the air. Here is, again, we're seeing direct wave. No ground wave to speak of. 10 meters, plus 5 dBs on the ground, and plus 20 in the air. Notice it is working better. And 5 dBs is significant. That going up, the direct wave works better as you go up frequency. All right, and the last measurement, 6 miles away, he's at a grammar school in Paris, 20 meters, 10 dBs on the ground, and 9.5 dBs in the air. Here again, I think we're seeing ground wave. I think we're seeing ground wave there. And I don't think there's any significant direct wave happening. 15 meters, S7 on the ground, S8 in the air, 10 meters, S7 on the ground, and plus 3 dBs in the air. Here again, 10 meters, working better than 15 on direct wave. And we see that same thing when we go all the way to 6, which I've never been able to explain to me. All the math and all the books doesn't say that this happens, but that's measured, absolute real world, that's what happens. With that, we'll go to John for comments, and then to the other John for even more comments. AA6RF and AA650D.
Yeah, this is AA6RF. Yeah, all the data that Will just gave is accurate. I don't, at this point, I don't want to give my opinion. I agree almost everything that Will said, and I'm not going to disagree with him. I'll let somebody else make their own opinions. So my opinion doesn't count. So anyway, Will, back to you, and turn it over to John and see what he says.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it has some questions for us as well. KU6X, AA650D.
All righty, well, all interesting stuff, and I really haven't thought about this at all. Just doing a little looking here on the internet. The ground wave is strongly influenced by the Earth's surface. We can divide its ground wave in 3 components: the surface wave, for which the Earth's surface serves as a wave conductor; the direct wave, which is the straightest and the shortest propagation distance; and the Earth reflected wave, in which the wave first hits the Earth and then reflects towards the surface. Is that how you're defining things there, Will?
Yeah, ground wave is where it walks in the ground. Direct wave is the signal above the ground where it does not walk in the ground. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not quite sure the concept of walking in the ground. I quite understand that, but I'll have to do a little more looking into this stuff. But I don't really have, I certainly don't doubt your, oops, I hit this doggone button on the microphone again. Don't doubt your results. Now, how high is the current loop on these different bands on your antennas?
Well, the Hustler, are you asking where the center of the current is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, the speed point of a regular Hustler 5VTV is about 6 inches off the ground, and the other one is the high current point is about 40 feet off the ground. Go ahead.
For all different bands, they say pretty much the same.
They stay exactly the same.
Okay, and so your the 5ATV uses traps in it, right? So on 20 meters you're using more of the antenna.
Yes, absolutely. On both antennas we're using more of the antenna.
Okay, so if you just look at the current, the average current, it's got to be going up in the air a little bit on 20 meters.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's some of that. But the ground wave, when you get really, well, the AM broadcast band, everything you hear on the AM broadcast band is local, is all ground wave. You don't hear any direct wave. Maybe I should tell you the story. Did I tell you the story of Highway 101 to Oxnard, John?
101 to Oxnard. I don't think so.
Anyway, this is back in the 70s. Wayne Overbeck this is, when they had I was talking about the VHF, UHF couple people out there. So while I was living out there, he wanted me to come out and do some antenna experiments. And I just got my advanced class license. So I put 40 meters in the car, and I had 6 meters at the same time. And so I'm traveling out there to see him. And as I go, I can hear I can hear some direct waves on 6 meters, and I hear a little bit of NVIS every so often. But the 6 is actually working better than the NVIS, because here again I'm vertically polarized and not leaning the antenna back. I didn't know to do that in those days. I got out there in the 101 and past Thousand Oaks, and do you know where you run into a cliff and the side that road, that major highway, goes down on a huge angle right down to the floor of the fluvial plain that's out there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, as I start approaching, I'm a good, a mile back or so. As I start approaching that, he just comes up on 6 meters, and just absolutely full fighting. And here on Trinidad 300, and just wonderful signal. And I reach the edge of that cliff, and I can see his house in the ocean outline. He has a fairly fancy house down at the ocean, way out on the end of the fluvial plain out there. 40 meters. Signal is worthless. He's not there. I can see the damn thing, and there's no 40-meter signal. I go over the hillside. I start going downhill. Same thing. I don't hear nothing on 40, nothing on 40 as I'm going down that cliff. And I go back to, but then he's getting weaker. On 6, he's getting weaker. He's getting weaker. He's getting weaker. On 40, when I get about 300 feet from the bottom, he starts coming up on 40 meters. All right? By the time I get to that last 300 feet to the floor, 40 meters is now like 20 over S9, and 6 meters is down, he's in the noise. I hit the ground wave. You know, I mean, I studied all this, and I was looking to do it. I studied all those books from the 1930s and all that on ground wave. I wanted to smell it, taste it, make it real. It became real to my brain at that point, just totally real. And so from there on in, 40 just kept getting smoothly stronger, and 6 was no ground wave yet on 6. It was still just being up and down, standing waves, and sometimes strong, and sometimes stronger, and sometimes weaker. But 40 just smoothly built all the way to his house, inverse square law all the way on that ground wave. And of course, eventually I picked up ground wave on 6 when I got within a few miles. Then 6 acted the same way all the way to his house. So that's my experience. It's got it sheared into my brain. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm kind of it's been 5 years that I've been up to Santa Barbara along that road, but yeah, that's quite fascinating. I have something to think about there. Anyway, I don't really have too much to add, but I'll do a little looking and see what I can find here. I'm sure there's some propagation experts on there, but you'll probably find that there's some disagreement. But I don't know that there's been too much done on these kinds of distances that you're talking about. Most of the stuff is, of course, related to working longer distances, except for NVIS, which is a somewhat different topic. That's all I have to say there, Will. AA60D KU6X.
Okay. Yeah, no, back in the 1930s, all the ham/radio scientists, vast majority in New Jersey, Boston, New York, they would go out and make measurements. The typical thing was an automobile with runner boards on the side and a 15-foot width. There's always a 15-foot width, and that they would use to measure signal strength over ground. And so most of their data is over good conductive earth and not over desert. Now I'm sure the Army did test over deserts, and they know what it is. There's got to be Army scientific papers that are published that go into this in a big way. But they just show you, now there's this one I just downloaded yesterday, where he gives all these charts for what he calls surface wave, ground wave, attenuation for each ham band. And he makes a statement that we've already proven is now wrong. He makes a statement that to couple to the ground, you need to be close to the ground and certainly not more than a quarter wavelength above the ground. Well, I'm sorry. The 20 meters we just did is a full half wavelength above the ground, and it's coupling to the ground. It is absolutely coupling to the ground. And the ground measurement and the height measurement are identical over those 6-mile range. So there, he's already wrong. Is there some elevation that you would decouple? I'm sure there is. But for all practical purposes for ham radio, I don't think, you're not going to get it too high for average ham to get it up in the air that you're going to decouple. You're going to see it. And you're seeing it on 20. You're going to see it even more on 40. and all of a sudden you just have to get above 80 feet on 40 meters, not be coupling to the ground. And let alone to say what it'd have to be for 80 or 160 not to couple to the ground. So anyway, when I saw those numbers, I was an excited I was a happy camper because I've seen all this with talking to Kim, the direct wave roll off, and here again it doesn't go with all the formulas. They all have the lower frequencies having better direct wave than the higher frequencies, and it's simply not true. At least not with our soil. Maybe it's true back east, where the soil is conductive as hell and the water table is zero, and not 100 feet below the ground. There's big variations there, I'm sure. But anyway, we're going to be in John, even maybe tomorrow if he wants to. We'll end up doing some more measurements. All right, any comments, questions, any new check-ins, call signs, please.
Is John the transmitter?
Yeah, he's the moving transmitter.
What's his antenna?
It's an 18-foot whip, basically sitting on the ground with a
John, I'm the receiver.
And with counterplays. Go ahead, John, AA6RF, you want to comment?
Yeah, Will, I'm not the transmitter. I'm the receiver. You're the guy that's transmitting with the two antennas. I'm the receiver.
Okay, fine. Thanks for the correction. Anyway, that's what he's using as the receiver antenna. You've already I already described my transmitter antenna, John. Go ahead.
So it's an 18-foot whip. Is that you stop and erect?
Yes, yeah, and he sits on the ground with counterplays. That's what John does. That's the receiver.
And he's feeding it into so he's feeding it into what is 505?
The ICOM 705. It's just a quarter. It's a vertical that's not. It's resident on different wavelengths. Quarter wave, third wave. Multiple. It's got a good match on all the frequencies.
How do you get the good match?
Osmosis. It's not a good match, but for receive it doesn't matter. We're not really comparing levels, John. We're just looking at different distances, how the dB changes. It doesn't need to be a resonant antenna. I'm not transmitting.
Okay, well, but it's 18 feet and with no traps or anything in it, and you're just feeding that into your 705.
That's correct. With choked off at the feed point, and there's 3 radials, ground radials that are about 17 feet. I think that's what it was, 17 feet. John, it's nothing resonant about the antenna. It's just a voltage spike up in the air receiving.
Well, there's got to be some traveling waves along the antenna, I would think, unless it's, well, anyway. Okay, let me think about that a bit. KU6X.
Well, the levels aren't important. The distances and changes what we're looking at. The distances and changes. We could say 20 dB above S9, or we could say 9 bananas. The next point we've got 8 bananas. It's really not important what the levels are. It's the change we're looking at.
Okay, well, could you use a real short antenna and get the same results?
Of course. Why not? It's a voltage spike. I mean, you're going to have the same signal and noise ratio no matter what antenna. We're just looking at the signal level.
yeah, you could have a higher level if you have a true resonant antenna, but if I go 2 miles away or 4 miles away, the level should get lower. Now, are these highly accurate millivolt readings we're taking? Of course not. It's just reference readings we're taking.
Yeah, I understand all that. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just curious if there's some other phenomenon going on. But all right. Well, let me think about it a bit. So you guys have fun tomorrow. It's KU6X.
Okay, John. Well, the phenomenon here again is the same one I've seen with Kim all these years at 28 miles away. We're seeing at least above, but the ground wave goes away over that distance. So I never could talk to her on the ground wave. You see this local stuff, the ground wave is potent as hell on 20. So that's what it tells me. You know, I can say when I saw those numbers, John will tell you I was grinning from ear to ear. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Very good. Well, something is going on for sure. Somewhere something's going on. Anyway, that's all quite interesting because I've never really thought about this, but I certainly know, you know, when I was a kid, certainly we could always work guys in our local, when I was living in Covina, we could, you know, work guys out 10 miles, 20 miles away on 10 and not hear them on the higher band or the lower frequency bands. But the exact phenomenon, I don't think I ever really thought about too much. Maybe Don has some ideas about this. I don't know, because his stuff is all VHF and higher, I guess. Anyway, that's enough for me. KU6X.
Comment?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, John, what I mean, somewhere distance-wise, there's ground wave and direct wave. I mean, everybody agrees there's ground wave and direct wave. What Will and I are trying to just do is on these different frequencies, we're trying to see where the ground wave disappears and where the direct wave enhances. And as you change distances on different bands, this phenomenon happens at different points. So that's the whole experiment we're trying to see is where the ground wave and the direct wave intermingle and disappear. I mean, that's the extent of the experiment.
Okay. I haven't really thought about different modes of very close communications like that, but I certainly remember it being true when I was a kid.
Yeah, Will, you left out some guys. You left out part of the rotation of people, I think. Okay, well, we'll see. Any late missed or visitor check-ins, call signs, please.
Well, you passed me, but I don't really care. I'm just sitting here listening. So everybody enjoy W6RYO.
No, we didn't pass you, Gary. You're the referee here. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I consider it foul, and all bets are off. Okay. Anyway, that's about it. It's been a lot of fun. We went overtime with all this stuff at the end. Started out slow, but ended up big time. All right, we'll throw it open one more time. Any other late missed or visitor check-ins or relays?
Just a comment, but not related to anything you're talking about.
Oh, well, after any comment you want, Kim, please go.
Okay, K6YYL here in the group. Not related to your experiments whatsoever, but I've been playing with the Frankenstein's Bride trap vertical, ground-mounted, and not measuring anything, just adding wire just for the heck of it, and I did get 12 meters to work. I haven't made a contact on it yet because I haven't had enough time to play around with it, but it received really nicely into Nova Scotia And I have, yeah, it's totally unmeasured amounts of wire, but it's massive because it's part of the 160 meter wire antenna that I made. So actually, it's both legs. I think I added. So it's massive amounts of wire there. So if you want to comment on how well I can expect that to work, but I did hear well. So I haven't had a chance to transmit and make contacts on 12 meters, but tell me what your predictions are of how well that will work.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it'll work. It'll work. It's hard to say. I would say especially on higher angle stuff, closer in, like strategy is probably work better than long haul F layer, but it's going to work either way. If you want, we can go there and go back and forth. We can go to 12 meters, and you can switch between your two. You have the one up there that's 12 and the one on the ground that's 12, right?
I only have the Frankenstein's Bride that does 12. I don't have anything else that does 12. And I'm not set up right now to do that because I have to set up the coax to the other radio to get it through the door there, basically. So I'm not set up right now to do that test, but we can do that sometime. But I only have the one now because the VG4 does not have 12, and I don't think anything else that I have up has 12 either, except for the Frankenstein's Bride vertical.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's that's a drawback. There's no 12 or 17 meters on that antenna, but it has 40 and covers the 20 and 15 and 10 good. Okay. Yeah, have fun using that. See well, she can work.
Yeah. Looks as hokey as I'll get up, but, you know, it's fun.
Okay, well, I'm glad you were doing your counterpoise experiments and brought the antenna in. That's great.
Well, thank you, Will. It's all to your credit, so thank you.
All right. With that, anybody else with anything, and then we'll skedaddle. Check in, go. All right, WA6TMT checked in. Say hi to James.
I'm not hearing him.
Sounds good, Tom. And we'll catch everybody on 50.300. And who knows, probably a wonderful strategy opening this evening. With that, we'll clear the AM roundtable. So a lot of fun. AA6DD, QSY to 50.300.